Hey, welcome back to another episode of the MindShare podcast. This show is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems, a two-time international award-winning marketing suite for sales professionals, along with REM Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals. You can learn more about all of our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle so you can build more mind share to get more market share. Plus, of course, learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 307. He is a master mentalist whose performances elevate entertainment to the extraordinary. With a profound understanding of psychology and human behavior, he engages audiences through experiences that challenge perceptions and provoke deep thought. Growing up with a learning disability, he initially believed his brain didn't work like others. However, he soon discovered that it simply operated differently, leading him to explore the art of mentalism and the mysteries of the human mind. Over the years, he has meticulously honed his craft, blending skillful techniques with a magnetic stage presence. His shows are not merely performances. They are immersive experiences that resonate on a profound level. His unique approach combines entertainment with psychological insight, enabling him to read thoughts, predict choices, and create astonishing moments that leave spectators questioning reality. Whether at corporate events, private gatherings, or grand stages, he captivates audiences, making each experience unforgettable, just like he did at our MindShare Mastermind. With numerous accolades and devoted following, he continually pushes the boundaries of mentalism, delivering moments that linger long after the final curtain call. Joining me on this episode of the MindShare podcast is mentalist, my good friend and diehard Leafs fan, Ryan Edwards.
Ryan, what's going on?
Welcome to the MindShare podcast, brother.
Thank you so much for having me. That was quite the introduction.
Oh, man, like, wow. Well deserved. Well deserved. I see. I don't even think it did you justice.
Well, hey, it wasn't too bad.
Well, we try, man. We try. But, you know, like the reality is everybody just needs to like actually be in a room with you and be able to actually experience everything that was just said, because the words just, they truly don't do it justice.
Probably the number one thing I say is like it's probably closer to 90% of people have never experienced mentalism like close up and personal. And so, you know, they see it on TV or they see it on YouTube or something, but to actually experience it is a whole nother beast. So
it truly is, dude. So you know, I know you were at the Mastermind not too long ago, and you smashed it out of the park. It was a hit with everybody for sure. Any big shows you've done since our event? Like I know you were in Vegas, or you're normally in Vegas. What's been going on in your world?
Yeah, so I was in Las Vegas. I was doing some stuff for the Mr. Olympia contest there with a couple brands, and then got back, went out to Erie, Pennsylvania to perform at Keller's, which is a magic comedy lounge that they created there after Harry Keller, which is super, super cool. If you ever get a chance, go. It's like 3 hours from us or 4 hours from us. So really, really awesome place. So got to go down there and perform for a couple of days, and yeah. Now back doing some corporate stuff. Going to be on breakfast television tomorrow morning. So
I was gonna say we were just talking about that off air, and he was like, he started talking about, you know, pulling stuff out of your eye and out of this. I'm thinking like, what?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been doing it for 25 years almost. So the number of routines and demonstrations I have is pretty crazy. And so usually if someone says something scary, it's like, oh, okay, I'll go this direction and stuff. So
dude, it's seriously, it's jaw-dropping stuff for sure. There's something absolutely incredible about it. Now, just before we get in, because look, for everybody that's wondering right now, that might be, you know, tuned in and going, okay, hold on a second. I'm in sales, I'm in business. This guy's got a mentalist. What's he going to teach me? I mean, buckle up. Today we are talking about how to outsmart your competition, and we've got Ryan here. We're going to talk about negotiation tactics. And I know that when we were at the Mastermind, you had shared some amazing stuff for our group there that really helped everybody, you know, hone their negotiation skills, as well as really be able to read people, and just help us all kind of excel. That being said, just before we do that, you're a mentalist. Let's explain, what is mentalism?
Yeah, so I always explain to people that it's kind of a mashup of things between like psychology, math, science, magic, you know, art. There's all these things kind of combined to do what I do on stage. You know, and on stage, I always say, you know, it's using all five senses to create what looks like the sixth, but try to give people an experience that they've never felt before, the experience of having a brain read. So.
Well, it's definitely an experience. That's for sure. It's definitely experience. And that's the thing that again, like, you know, as you're sitting there paying attention to it and you're going, hold on a second, how'd you do that? Um, I know that takes years, and I know as I was reading off the bio there, you know, there's this powerful journey of overcoming challenges, leveraging unique strengths, even what you mentioned about the way you thought about your brain and the way you thought about yourself. How did all of that really shape the approach to understanding other people? And I guess, what have you discovered about the power of perception?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting. I read a book a few years ago, and it was a great book. It should have come out like 25 years ago or 30 years ago or longer, but I think it was called Stop Doing That Shit.
Okay. I already like
And
it.
fantastic because it really questions how you perceive that the world looks at you, how you perceive yourself, and kind of things that you've told yourself along the journey. And we all do. You know, I'm mentoring a kid right now and creating a new show for him. And one of the things he said to me was like, I suck at everything.
Mm,
And I was like, no, you don't. Like, you have 10 million followers on social media. You don't suck. And he's like, yeah, but it took me a long time to get there, right? It didn't come natural and stuff. Like, that doesn't mean that you suck at it, you know? And we talked about all these different things. And I was like, man, you're so good at things that I'm not good at and stuff. But a lot of times as humans, we get triggered when we're kids. So for me, I had a learning disability, so I couldn't read and write very well. I was like way far behind other kids. And so, you know, kids obviously growing up, they're like, oh, you're the dumb kid, you know, you can't read and stuff. And so then I lived my life for the longest time thinking I was the dumb kid.
mm.
And going like, oh, I can't excel in that area. I remember my dad when I was a kid, I wanted to be an animator for Disney. I
Oh, yeah.
really love drawing and stuff. Don't do it as much anymore, but I thought that's what I wanted to be. And I remember reading a newspaper article that said like to get into Sheridan, who kind of Disney handpicks from, you needed like a 90% average in school. And right then and there, I just said, all right, well, I guess I'm not going to be that in my life because I'm too dumb to do that. Because I believed what other people told me. And so
Right.
I didn't excel at anything until I kind of changed my mindset. And now when I go on stages in front of thousands of people, my stage hands are more nervous than I am. And they're always like, why aren't you nervous? And I always go, well, because I know I'm the smartest guy in the room, right? Like I'm smarter than everybody here. And so I just kind of flipped it on its head to go like, I'm not actually that dumb. I just learn differently than other people. And through researching and stuff, you know, ADD, whoa, shiny thing. No,
Yeah, where?
but yeah, you know, researching some of that stuff and meeting other people that had the same issues and stuff and chatting with them, what their issues were. I figured out ways like I wasn't great at reading a book in front of a class because the words were small and I would skip pages or skip lines. And then when I started doing public speaking and I had it on this huge, you know, screen projector screen, it was no problem to read. And I was like, oh, interesting. So my thing is that I'm having trouble following the lines or my eyes are going to different lines and stuff. And so when I made it bigger, it wasn't an issue. And so it was kind of interesting to me. That's kind of what led me more into enjoying doing mentalism, to really kind of play with people's perception as well, but also then to empower people that they can do whatever they really put their mind to. You know, that you know, they can overcome things that they've held on to for a long time. So
Well, see, that's what's curious. What gets me right there is, how did you flip that switch? Like, you go from saying, okay, I'm in school, I'm not going to read in front of people, and I'm skipping lines because I don't think I'm a good reader, and all of a sudden you're on a stage, there's words, and you're owning that.
Yeah.
Where was that flip? Because, and I bring that up, right? Like, if we put in perspective, there's people out there, and I have these conversations often. I don't want to make my phone calls because I don't know what to say to people. I don't want to go out and talk to new people because I'm scared of rejection. I don't want to get on video because I'm not sure I like what I sound like or look like or what I'm going to say. I mean, there's always these holdups to, and those are just a few examples. I mean, there's millions of examples out there in life. They don't even have to just be business related. But you flipped that script for yourself, which what was going on in the subconscious. How did you do that?
That's a
Obviously,
tough
there was
question.
practice to it, but
It was practice for
yeah.
sure. Like I felt confident to go on stage. I remember the first time I spoke on a stage. I mean, we're going back, I was 18, so tomorrow will be 21 years ago,
Wow.
something like that, 22 years ago. And so I remember going up on stage and almost crying because I was like so nervous, like so shaky and stuff, and like just was terrible. Got off stage and was like, wow, that was brutal. I never want to put anybody through that ever again.
Wow.
And was like, all right, well, I just need to get better. And how do I do that? Is it more preparation? Is it feeling more comfortable with what I'm presenting or talking about? And, you know, like I was young, I was like I said, 17 or 18, something like that the first time. And it was a very awkward talk I had to do. Like the subject I was speaking on was super, super awkward for me. And so the person that asked me to speak did it because they knew that I would be a good speaker, but thought I'm going to give him the worst subject ever to speak on, because if he could speak on that, then he could speak on anything after that. And so it was very smart. I talked to him the following week and I was like, I hate you. But he explained his reasoning and stuff, and it totally made sense. And from then on, it wasn't an issue because I was no longer nervous about that, about being bad and stuff. And so, but I really think I had professors in university that, you know, were brilliant, brilliant guys. One of the guys, they said he was like top 10 smartest guys in the world. And I was like, oh, okay, sounds good. But he probably couldn't tell me anything about the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I go, what deems him as really smart? I said, he's really smart in one subject. You know, it's very hard to meet someone that's very smart in a gamut of everything. Right? Because we're not experts at things. We want to be, but we're not. And so for me, it was going, okay, well, I'm going to become an expert in this field of mentalism. And now I know that no one else in the room is an expert at this. And so it gives me that confidence to go, even if they figured out something, even if I did something wrong on stage, there's going to be 10 other things that blow their mind. And so to me, I kind of stopped caring. Sorry, I know this is long, but one of the other things that made me do that is 14 years ago, my dad passed away. And after he passed away, I was having terrible stomach issues for months. And I was 24 years old and had to go for a colonoscopy. And I was like, okay, this sucks. And they thought they found something. They called me. They said, we found something. And they said, you have Crohn's disease. So I was like, okay, what does that mean? And my dad had just died of cancer. My mom was in the hospital. They thought she had cancer at the time too. I was like super, super stressed. And so I literally, after that day, said, I'm going to stop caring about everything to a point where I stress about anything, you know, because I thought stress is what gave me what they thought was Crohn's disease. I talked to the doctor a couple of years ago now, and he said, you don't have anything because Crohn's continually gets worse and yours has continually gotten better. And I said, he was like, what did you do? And I said, I stopped stressing about things. I just stopped really caring about those things. My wife will always tell you that I'm a robot. She's like, you never cry or stuff like that. And I always just go, well, there's no day that is sadder than I had 14 years ago, you know, to me. And I didn't cry then because I didn't want other people to start crying and stuff. And so if I could hold it in then anything going forward, I can control myself through those emotions and stuff. And so not that that's not everyone can do that, and it's tough, but I just stop stressing about things and kind of live a stress-free life, essentially.
You know, it is good insight, and it does say, you know, my takeaway to that is you almost find something that is even harder pressing or something that really is devastating and ride off that and go, you know, where does that equate to what I'm about to do and which one was harder?
Yeah.
And if you look and say it, and we all have something, whether it's as tragic, maybe not, but there's been hardships. There's something you can ride off of. If you can take that, that can help you say, well, if I conquered that, I can conquer this. There's no way this is as hard. And I think that the simplicity of that thought actually is incredibly powerful because it what I can see where it allows for a very quick flip of the switch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 100%.
So you know, our audience today, mostly people that are in the real estate industry, business people, salespeople, you know, entrepreneurs. And as we look at this, I know one of the running themes that you and I we've talked about often, and something that we even talked a little bit about at the mastermind, and again was this idea around active listening, right? And the importance of active listening, how crucial it is. Can you share some strategies for us for listening beyond words? Because again, a lot of times we're going to be at the table. We're going to be in the middle of a negotiation, whether it's running the numbers for an actual contract, whether it's trying to secure a listing or get a deal closed or present an offer. And there's going to be somebody on the other side of that, whether we're right there and we can physically see each other or we're just on the phone with each other. But I guess to ask for what are some strategies that we can help everybody with beyond words, like reading tone, pacing, pauses, you know, to get a true sense of really what is the person on the other side, the client, the potential other business person, you know, that negotiation partner, what they may not be saying, but things that we can watch for through again active listening, maybe some of that body language.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that we talked a little bit about it at the mastermind,
Right.
and it's something that I'm constantly doing whenever I'm speaking with a client or something like that, or even sometimes a friend. I kind
Yeah,
of just
everybody, you got to realize it scares the shit out of me as a friend, right? Because like every time I'm wondering, I got to be careful what I'm saying.
you should, yeah. But it's funny because one of my keynotes, well, I talked about it at the mastermind. It's
Yeah.
how to tell when people were lying. And so if I did this right now, if I was like, yeah, you know, I talked about lying and stuff like that. You know, I'm lying. But
Right.
clearly, I did talk about it at the mastermind because.
And for anybody tuned in, audio, he's got his hand over his mouth or hand over his eyes. Little
We see it a
telltale sign.
lot.
Yeah.
People, when they're lying, they want to cover things up. They want to, so they want to do something like this, or, you know, even like, oh, that's a great question. Whenever someone does that, what they're doing is trying to think of the answer in their mind, right? Giving themselves a few extra seconds to deliberate on the question that got asked and then go, okay, now I can answer this because I've formulated something in my brain. But yeah.
So it's watching for some physical cues then.
100%. There's physical things I'm watching for when I'm speaking with people, especially one-on-one. But there's always times too, like if you're in negotiation, sometimes it's better not to look at the person that you're doing the negotiation with. It's the other person in the room that kind of knows what the deal is because they're going to give you more information. Because that person that's delivering it has prepped themselves. So they feel really confident about giving the information, where the other person is a little bit more weary about it. They're like, I don't know. Maybe this deal is not going to go through. Maybe we could go higher. Maybe we could go lower and stuff. And so it's kind of looking at everybody around that whole situation and going, okay, I'm picking up stuff from this person here. And why are they doing that? You know, what, like,
That's interesting, man.
You know,
so there's something to be said there, right? When like when we look at physical cues. Well, okay, so what are some of the top physical cues? Because you just said the hands over the mouth or the hands over the
mouth
face
is a big one. Yeah, people will try to cover it up. A lot of people will gesture away from themselves instead of drawing attention to them. They're going to go like, oh, and look at this over here. Like, this is so great, because they want your eyes to go over here. Because people think when you're looking at someone, then they can just tell, right? And they always say your eyes are the way to the soul, right? And so they want people subconsciously don't want that attention on them. And so they gesture away. a lot. They'll say, "Oh, come look at this," or "Come look at that," And I've had it with real estate agents in the past. Like I've bought some houses and stuff, and they want to make the sale at the end of the day, right? And some, whether it's good for the buyer or not, they want to make the sale because they know they got to put food on the table for their families and stuff as well. And so sometimes it's like, oh, this kitchen is terrible. Like I don't want this house because this is bad. But then they're like, whoa, but look at over here. Look at the backyard, and just think maybe down the road you could put an addition on, you could do a renovation and stuff, which might be true. But a lot of times it's like, let's take the focus off of the bad and put the focus on the good, right? Which is a smart sales tactic. You don't want people to be negative around looking at a house. You want them to be positive, but it's a very quick thing that people do to go, oh shoot, this is going south because the focus is here. Let's draw attention over here. And so we do the same with people. When someone is like, oh, it's not going well here, let me get the attention over here, right?
So are to pick up on some of these subtleties, is it you want to be, would you recommend then you're better off actually seeing somebody either virtually the way we're doing right now or in person when you're trying to have those conversations? Can you still pick up on some of that on the phone? I mean, you're not going to see on the phone if I'm doing something with my hands or I'm pointing somewhere else or a hand over the mouth.
Yeah, definitely. So over the phone, there's different things as well. So I'm listening for tone as well at that point. So if all of a sudden someone gets very excited about something, it's a tough one because obviously they can be getting excited about something. So it kind of has to come at a weird beat. If someone is monotone the whole time and then all of a sudden like goes up and down, then I kind of know, okay, why are they trying to emphasize that? What was important about that? But I'm also listening for, again, if they're repeating the question back to me, because then I know, okay, all of a sudden this person is repeating the question back. Why are they doing that? They're thinking about it. Are they then giving me too much detail about that? Like if I said, oh, what'd you do last night? And you were like, oh, I watched a hockey game last night. And you're like, instead you go, hey, at 7:14, I watched a hockey game until about 7:30. And then I switched to the baseball game. And then I switched back to the hockey game at 8:48. I would go, you're giving me way too much detail. Something happened in between this because you're trying to be so meticulous. And I just asked you, like, what'd you do last night? Right. So instead of saying, I sat on the couch and watched some sports. Okay, sounds good. That's probably a true answer. But if you're trying to sell me on what you did minute by minute, then I know you're trying to fill in things and something happened in those gaps that you don't want me to know.
So we're looking at tonality, pace, emphasis, maybe sort of that cadence of the voice that's going on. And then when it's physical, I know, again, you mentioned with the hands, you've mentioned with, I guess with the eyes, with like maybe gearing people the other way. I remember even at the event, you actually leveraged watching people's breathing patterns, kind of when they take that breath. Yeah, right. Like that telltale sign of like, I got you.
Yeah, no, 100%. If someone is more nervous and stuff, their breathing patterns are going to be different and stuff. If it's something that you've caught them on, they are probably going to, breathe a little deeper or hold their breath. I think I caught you where you were breathing out when you were trying to lie to me about something as an experiment. David wasn't actually just lying to me to lie to me, but we were doing a little experiment. And I was like, oh, okay, you were holding your breath there and you're exhaling at certain points because you were, because I kind of forced you in that way. So.
No, I remember. Yeah. And I remember you did that with somebody in the audience as well about picking the number. And it was like, everybody was watching. And we're all like, okay, he didn't move. His eyebrows didn't move. His eyes didn't move. Nothing moved. And you caught it based on just the little release of the breath. Right?
Yeah.
And you nailed it too. I mean, he admittedly said like, you got me.
Yeah. With that one, a lot of people do that. But I'm also looking for like 100 different things. So I give you one thing that I'm doing, but I'm doing 100 things that you're not seeing.
Right.
Which I can't divulge everything. So,
listen.
But I give tidbits to go, okay, here's something you could look for. Whether they did that or not, I'm going to give you that cue. That guy did. And he admitted, he was like, shoot, I did.
Yeah.
But because he physically felt himself do that, but it goes usually unnoticed by everyone.
Which it very much did. I mean, you had the whole audience paying attention and really watching for it, and it was like he was adamant, you are not going to get him. You
Yeah.
knew,
Oh yeah.
right?
100%.
Like it was that subtle, right? Now, when it comes to so this is like when we're with people and somebody that we're actually negotiating with, we're looking for again those physicals, we're looking for some of those nonverbal cues, we're doing some of the active listening to listen to the way they say things. As we talk about getting on that stage and that getting past that fear and being out there in front of people, you meet a lot of people, you're in front of a lot of different audiences, and you build a lot of instant connections with people naturally because they are the audience. They're there to learn, they're there to listen, they're there to be awed by what you're doing with them. And then there's going to be people that you probably bring into the show a little bit to use as, I don't want to call it props in the negative, but like to have somebody there to bounce off of, right?
Yeah.
For us, again, when it comes to business and it comes to sales, and we go, okay, I'm going to meet somebody new, whether it's I'm out there door knocking and I'm trying to meet somebody brand new, or I am, I've somebody's inquired with me about wanting to list their property and they want to meet me for the first time, or even enter in negotiations. What nonverbal techniques can we use for us to help establish trust more quickly with people that are kind of brand new with us? Does that make sense?
That's a good question.
Okay.
See, now I'm didn't repeat the question back, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the answer, and you see, that's what happens. But with that, I would say, if you're a gentleman, I mean, have a good firm handshake. You do not want to have a wimpy handshake, because that right away, if I'm meeting a guy that gives me a weak handshake, my brain is already processing like, what was that? Why is that like that? And stuff.
I gotta tell you something. Sorry to totally cut you off as I asked that question.
Yeah.
I just got back from the gym, as I said to you. Just finished a book called Read People Like a Book. And it was, I mean, again, it wasn't lining up for today more than it was just the interest in it. But they talked today in that like final chapter, second last chapter, about the handshake.
Yeah.
And how important that handshake is.
It's a very important thing.
Like the way your palm is, if your palm's down or your palm's up or your palm's open, or if it's weak, if it's limp, it says so much to people.
Yeah, 100%. Because right away you're getting a physical interaction with someone, right? It's enough to, like, you see your neighbor come outside, hello, how's it going? That's an interaction. But when you give someone a handshake, it's like putting that trust in them almost. Like you're like, okay, we are about to make physical contact, which now after COVID, we all know physical contact for people was a weird thing, right?
Yeah.
And so now you're like okaying someone to touch your hand and stuff. So you want to make sure it's a good handshake, especially the higher up in business you get. I don't meet too many CEOs around the world that give you like a really like dead fish handshake. They want to give you the firm grasp to let them, like, because it's almost an intimidation thing a little bit. It's intimidating when you get that big handshake. But
dude, I had a guy the other day that I met for the first time, and it was like somebody introduced me and I went to lean in and give him a handshake, and he grabbed my hand, like we did the handshake, firm and a big dude, and he like pulled me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I pulled back. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then as he walked away, I'm like, what was that?
Yeah.
But he was trying to establish, obviously,
He's
right?
establishing,
I'm a big dominant
person,
right? Yeah.
And it's kind of like dogs, right? We need to do our like dominant thing. Like, what is it? Right. So the handshake is an important thing. And I would say, other than that, like meeting physically, you'll notice I usually start something with a statement to someone. So I would go like, today. So I wish we had a shot this at my old house, because we moved and my studio is not set up yet, because I'm not doing that many virtual shows anymore. And we're doing a renovation right over here. So there's drywall and everything. So I had to change the background. But I would have come on today, and first thing I would have said to you is like, David, that background looks sick, or man, that looks so great in the background. Because you're going to react to that and give me information that I can then start establishing things with you. And so you would have said,
handshake, is that, would you boil, Rye, would you boil that down to like a compliment or like just an acknowledgement?
Just an acknowledgement. It doesn't have to be anything. Like, I do like it if it is, a compliment, like, hey, those are great shoes. Where'd you get those? Or some are like, oh man, I love your shoes. Someone's going to say, oh, thanks so much. These are the new Jordans. I just picked them up last week. If you're having a conversation with them, if they're bypassing, they're going to go, thanks, man. I'm not trying to do it if someone's walking by, but if I'm having a conversation with someone, 100%, I want to give them a critique or like a statement about something that's going to build them up. Because if I'm building them up, they're already happy with me. I'm raising their endorphins, right?
There you go.
So it's a more positive approach. But as soon as I ask that, then I get into okay, now I'm going to start thinking about how you're answering questions. And that's going to lead me down different rabbit holes.
Okay, you see, and there it is, right? So, okay, so this takes me to the idea of mirroring, right? And that, I guess the question there would be, what role does mirroring really play when it comes to negotiations? And I guess even more importantly, how could anybody that's tuned in really use this to make the person they're dealing with feel more understood and more comfortable without it feeling forced?
Yeah, 100%. It has to come natural. I mean, obviously, if someone is, doing something really dumb, you're not going to do the same thing,
Right. Fair.
But
I mean, sometimes.
I mean, if you jump off the bridge, I will jump off the bridge. All right. But I knew you'd wear a black shirt today, so I wore a black shirt.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I kind of knew you'd wear a black shirt today.
I only wear black shirts, basically. It's one of those things where it has to come natural as well. But I always find, like, if you're standing talking to someone, a lot of times people will cross their arms, and everything that people said before about body language and like, oh, you're closing your arms, you're shutting them off and stuff, I don't think is true at all. I work out a lot. My shoulders are rough after lots of years of doing that, and so a lot of times I'll cross my arms because it's just a more comfortable thing for my shoulders and stuff to relax. So if I'm standing there and you did it, then that gives me the okay to, I'm going to do it as well. Right. And so by doing that, then we are kind of matching each other, and subconsciously that does things to us, like physically, like chemically inside of us go like, oh, this person is just like me. Right. And when that happens, it's building more trust right away. So I think it's super, super important. If you look up pictures of people mirroring, presidents and country leaders and stuff walking across the grass, and they all have their coat over their shoulders, is a very famous one. But why? Why is no one just carrying it under their arm, or no one kept it on? Everyone took it off, threw it over their right shoulder, right? Because they know they want that person to think that they are just like them. Right. I want you, David, to think Ryan is just like me. And so I want to hang out with him. I want to do business with him. I want to do everything because Ryan is like me, right? It's because we're drawn to that, right? People say we're drawn to opposites attract, maybe in love and stuff, but a lot of times that's not true. We are drawn to ourselves. And so we find people that are very much like us. So,
I gotta emphasize this right here as well, is that, again, everybody tuned in, and again, thank you all for tuning in. We're talking to Ryan Edwards, Mentalist Ryan Edwards, about how to outsmart your competition. And we're discussing negotiation tactics, that you've never tried, or maybe you have, but you should. As we talk about the mirroring thing, Ryan, if I go back to day one, even you and I, right, we jumped off about the Leafs together.
100%.
And that was our jumping off point, and that led into conversation, and that led into, more conversation and, friendship. And just now it's just like, it could be one word messages to each other. And it's cool. Like we know each other.
Yep.
To everybody tune in, like we talk about, getting out there and acting with purpose on social media and speaking with people. And the reason why, again, and there's so many people out there, right? And we know this, everybody knows this. Like so many people, they're so recluse. They don't want to share who they are. They don't want to let the world into that. Oh, that's my personal life. I've said this for a lot of years now. The line between business and personal on social media is completely gone. It really needs to be a lot more about the personal, about who you are as a human being, because that opens up the door to connect with other people. You know, I've shared the story about pizza and talking about pizza and pineapple on pizza many times from the stage and how the entire room got involved in that conversation. You know, we talk about the Maple Leafs, talk about riding motorcycles, talk about, you know, I mean, family, birthday celebrations, which I know somebody having a birthday tomorrow. You know, it's we look at these things that bring us together and say, okay, well, if I can get into social and I can start to learn who you are as a human being, and I can go, hold on a second, we got something in common here. Let's leverage that as a jumping off point to the conversation. We've already started to use some of these maybe mirroring tactics, some of these complementary tactics to begin to build some sort of rapport with somebody.
100%.
You know, and just an emphasis to everybody tuned in. Like, if you're holding back for any reason, if you're thinking to yourself, why should I share more? Because the minute you start sharing, other people will start to see what you're about and go, wait a second, I like him or I like her. Oh my God, they do that too. Hey, let me ask them about that.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of things in common, right? It's like
You
when
know-
I started building a backyard hockey rink during COVID. And seriously, I started building it. I didn't know what I was doing.
Nice.
To get some lumber, get some hammer, you know, hammer, some nails, whatever, a tarp. But I tapped into all these groups on social, on Facebook for like backyard hockey rinks, which there's a group for everything.
Yeah, there's a group
Multiple groups, right? Do you know how many other people though that are like in the same industry as I am, be it potential clients or like colleagues that are in those groups already? And now we're talking about backyard hockey rinks. The next thing you know, you're like, oh, hold on a second, we're playing in the same sandbox. You build good rapport. So
100%. I actually don't even remember. I don't know if you did how the Maple Leafs came up when we started chatting,
dude,
but it just did, and then it was like that was our pinpoint to go.
Yeah.
Okay, we could be friends. We could talk about this. I trust you. You're a Leaf fan. We're good.
But look at, I mean, and like all jokes aside, that's where opportunity presented itself on other levels. Like, I mean, there's the opportunity just as friends, there's the opportunity to talk more about sports and Leafs and something we both have a passion about. And then obviously it just opened up doors, like just because I'll say you go, wait a second, I like this guy. Like, yeah, we could talk. We could actually hang like human beings and not have to talk business.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then
100%.
that opens the door for the opportunity to do that.
So the interesting thing, I'll tell a quick story. So I was a pastor for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was at a small church in a small community, Caledonia. And so I would go and do everything that I could locally. So, I had a barber that was like 30, 40 minutes away. I wouldn't go see him. I'm going to go see the barber in town and stuff. I'm going to go and eat lunch at this restaurant and this one. Because often people would say, oh, we've seen you in here, or especially in the barbershop, people are like, oh, what do you do for a living? Right? Happens all the time with a new client. And so I would go, oh, I work at the church down the street. And they would go, oh, I don't know that church or whatever. And it's literally on the main drag in the town. Like, it's hard to miss. If you're going out of town, it's right there. But people didn't know it. And so I started a thing called Free Coffee Friday. And so on Friday mornings, we had a roundabout in the front of the church. And so we set up free coffee stations. So we had a mascot. This kid would dress up as a big coffee cup. And we had Tim Hortons like right across the street almost.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would tell people, oh, come on in. We'd have signs out on the street, free coffee, drive through. We'd get all these people that would come every Friday morning. And then as I started to go out in the town, I would say, oh, I work at this church. And they'd go, oh, the one that gives away coffee. And that was their sticking point, right? Because no one had ever seen a church do that, right? And to me, it was like just a no-brainer. It was like, okay, we need to be known in the community and show that we care about the community for the community to care about us, right? And so it's the same thing with everything that I do, though. It's like I need to put myself out there for an opportunity for someone else to go, oh, yes, I do want to get to know this person more. And my street. So I moved here like almost a year ago now. Yeah. And people on the street are already calling me the mayor of the street. And there's been people that have lived here 50 years. But it's because I've run a community like a street barbecue with everyone already. And then just the other day, we had a chili contest out on the street.
Nice.
So we all made chili and everything. And I won the chili contest as well.
Sure, you're the mayor.
I'm the mayor, and I did the contest, so I won. It's questionable.
The mayor, the only person voting. I mean, you know,
there was only one vote, and that's all that mattered. No. But to me, and one of the neighbors said, I've lived here like 46 years and we have never done anything like this. And I said to him, oh man, and he was like, it's so great. Thank you so much. And I said, for me, it's about getting to know where I live, my neighbors. So if I'm away, I can trust that my house is going to be okay. People are going to keep an eye on things. But also if I need something, I now have a group of people around me that know things that I don't know. And, if I said, oh, the one guy worked for Bell, so I need something done electrical. Oh, hey, Wayne, do you mind coming over and taking a look at this? And for me, like, it just makes life so much better and so much easier when you can go, oh, I have all of these different people that I could put my trust in that are going to do a good job at this. But I had to put myself out there first to gain that. And if you don't put yourself out, if you don't let people know where you are, then don't expect people to run to you, right? Like, and that, I think that's the biggest thing, is a lot of times we wait for opportunity to come. We wait for people to go, hey, I want to sell my house. Well, how the heck do they know that you're even a real estate agent, right? Oh, because you had your name on a park bench? Who cares? We drive by that. We don't even look at it, right? I want to know that you're, the guy or the girl at my son's hockey game or something, or that you're involved in things that the community's doing and stuff. Because then I go, man, I see this person everywhere, and not just your signs that you're paying for monthly, right?
The person themselves.
I see the person. And, this is a biblical thing, but it always said, like, your actions should come first. People should know more from your actions than just your words. And when your actions don't do it, then use words, right? So for me, like, getting out and doing things is the most important thing.
It's interesting though, because again, as I tie that back to today's conversation around these negotiation tactics, you put that in perspective and you think, okay, I've gone out there, I've done a fantastic job for others. My actions speak volumes about me. I'm already preparing myself because, again, typically speaking, in our world, 70 to 9% of what we do comes from repeat and referral business. People that have either done business with us in the past, or people are going to tell people about us. So somebody's already setting the stage for you, whether you've done it for yourself and then it goes right to the person you're dealing with, or it goes through a third party. The stage is being set. And that is going to bode well when it comes to the negotiation side of things. If people can already understand where you come from, what your history is, understand more about you, hear some, good words from people, that's going to help you when it comes to negotiation. And that negotiation could be you're getting the deal, you're not getting the deal. Like, you're the one that's going to get the listing. You're the one that's going to, never mind just the numbers.
Yeah.
Right. That's some important stuff there. Now, without crossing any lines, if I said to you, how could anybody, how could our audience who's tuned in, subtly guide conversations to keep things moving forward into their desired outcomes?
Yeah, I mean, that one takes a little bit of practice. It's tough because at that point, like, when I talk to you, I lead the conversation all the time. But it's because I know
me.
I'm just joking.
He thinks everybody. See, yeah. I'm the mentalist over here today.
But I think if I want to lead someone in conversation, I think, again, it would be just saying statements. I think a lot of times we try to ask people questions, and that puts people on the defensive. For instance, me and my wife had, I shouldn't say this maybe, but last night I was on my phone a lot yesterday, and she had the day off work. And so at night she said something like, it really bothered me or whatever that you were on your phone a lot and stuff. And what were you doing, kind of thing. And then I got a little bit more defensive because I was like, I was doing work, you had the day off, but it's not my day off, and right? And so by the end, I was like, okay, I need to lead the conversation in a different direction so that we end okay before going to bed, right? Because we never go to bed angry at each other. But and this morning was fantastic, and we had a great rest of the night and thing. But I think I tried to then lead the conversation into, okay, well, look, today was a bad day, but look at what we're doing tomorrow. Look at what we're doing this day. Here's what's upcoming. Here's what we just did this past weekend or the last couple of weeks and stuff, right? And it changed her mindset on, okay, I forgive you. I know what you're doing. You're doing work and this and that. And it changed the whole outcome of the whole talk that we were having, and she sent me a message this morning apologizing again, just saying like, I'm really sorry I brought that up. I know that you're doing work and that sometimes it's a stress relief for you as well. And so, which I try, like I said, I try not to stress about anything. So it's one of those things where it's tough to go here. I can give you just one thing to go change the subject or leave the subject, but I would say it's making statements like just that quick little thing like, oh man, wasn't that so awesome last night? Like if I said to you, oh, I wanted to watch, or I wanted to get you talking about baseball, I may say that like, oh man, that home run last night, or that fan that took the ball away, man, that was crazy. And I just say that. You could answer back by saying, yeah, that was nuts, and leave it at that, right? But you're probably going to go, oh my goodness, yeah, I can't believe it. Did you see they carted him off? And then I'm going to continue that ball so that way it goes in that direction that I want it to, instead of going like, down exactly how you're saying and what you want to do, because at that point, it's tough for me to get out of. So if that makes sense.
No, it does. Because a lot of times what we'll talk about, especially when you're making conversation with people, getting to know people, ask those open-ended questions. As opposed to a closed question, ask an open-ended question. This way, what it does is it gives somebody the opportunity to talk. Yeah. And then through something you said earlier, and you've taught us in the past, active listening, right? When you're listening to that answer, you can then either mirror that, or you can start to get that telltale sign of whatever it is road you're going down. They just shared some information with me, right? Yeah. In this case, though, what you're saying is it's not about necessarily it's not that we don't do the open-ended question, but in this case, this is actually a statement. And that statement could get me, because I'll tell you, right, when you brought up the guy with the ball, taking the ball out of Mookie Betts' hand, my mind started wheeling. And one of the first thoughts, and you're bang on, because one of the first thoughts I thought about, like, yeah, that was crazy. And then, as you said, carted off, I thought, yeah, and I heard he's banned for life. And part of what I thought about when I saw that was I watched the guy afterwards, like on like SportsCenter or whatever, like being like escorted out. This guy's got a hat on, he's got a Yankees jersey on, he had a pair of black sunglasses, and it's almost like, yeah, pick that guy out of the lineup the next time he tries to walk into the stadium. Like, right, banned for life, But therein lies, I had a lot that I was about to expand on with that. 100%. And now you could take that conversation down that road.
And that's always a nice thing. Like I do it with my neighbors and stuff all the time. Like if I want information or history on something, no matter what they come to talk to me about, I know that I can go like partway through, even if it's partway through a conversation. I've been known to be like, oh, by the way, did you see that yesterday? Like that car that was on the street? And then they go, oh yeah, this was crazy. This was nuts or whatever. Right. My one neighbor, I know I can get anything from. And so him and his wife. And so it's been very interesting that way. And, they would consider me probably like best friends on the street, which we are. We're great friends. I'm not using that, but I'm saying like, I know that if I need to get information or I know who to go to on the street because they're going to be able to tell me exactly what I need to know. But I think that comes in time as well, like building the trust with them, right? That they know I'm not going to use that information unwisely or something, right? So,
and you keep saying they, and it takes me back to something you said earlier, which I thought was real interesting, and I think it's something everybody's got to mark down and think about. When you are connecting with an individual, and there are multiple individuals in the room, you're actually suggesting don't just read the person you're talking to, read the people they came with.
Yeah.
And start reading that room. And would you engage those other people in the conversation? Even if you had that one stakeholder, would you engage the others just to get a sense of like what they might say?
Yeah, 100%. If you can, because like I said, well, let's say in real estate, for instance, right? A lot of times. So when we sold our house last year, the people that ended up buying the house brought so this is going to sound weird, but obviously I have the doorbell cam and stuff,
right?
So I can see who's coming to my house, right? I've got a camera inside the house to make sure when I was away for trips and stuff that I could watch to make sure no one was breaking in and stuff, right? So I had technology in the house that I could see things, and my wife would constantly be like, don't stop, don't look at it, whatever, like just let them be. But I was able to see things where, the real estate agent is talking to the person buying the house, but mom and dad are there as well, right? And mom and dad are a huge input on
Yeah.
whether or not this kid is going to buy the house. And so the real estate agent every once in a while would stop talking to just the people that were going to buy it and talk to the mom and dad, because at that point, if mom and dad back up the real estate agent, then there's a good chance that the kid is then going to go, oh, okay, these are two adults that are in agreement with each other. They've been through this house buying situation before. And so it builds trust with them as well. But also, like, if mom and dad are weary on like buying this house and going like, I really don't know if it's a good area and stuff, then I know that this kid is probably going to go back home and go, they're probably right. All bedrooms are small. We want to have a family one day. Maybe that's not a good idea. And so, you can pick up on things when the other person is able to talk. And if that person, like if it's a negotiation and you're talking a lot of money, that other person could be really nervous because they may know that the person sitting in the chair is about to throw out a low ball, right? And if they throw out a low ball, that person behind knows, like, they're sitting there going, oh, crap. I hope they take the deal. They're not focused on anything because they have the worst part is just standing there being still and quiet, right? And so if they're standing there, then there's body language that they may be giving off to go, this may not be your best offer. Maybe you could go up more and stuff, right?
It's interesting because I know, again, we often talk in sales. You're gonna have a decision maker, you're gonna have an influencer, you're gonna have a gatekeeper, right? So it's finding who those different parties are and serving up to each one of those parties to try to build rapport, to try to figure out where their mind's at, to think of where the thoughts are going. You talked about body language before. Like if I'm speaking to you and I'm trying to get the deal and your wife's in the background, all of a sudden she's got her arms crossed. Should I be reading into that too far? Should I be looking at, I'm looking for those cues that people can look at just and start to practice when we're with people.
Yeah, definitely. So if it was the wife in the background, all of a sudden she's crossing her arms and stuff, I may at that point just ask, like, bring it up and go like, oh, what's your input on this? Or what do you think about this? Right? Because then she's going to just give you information.
There you go.
Where if I pick up like, oh, there's a negative connotation here by someone's physical thing. If they're all of a sudden, like, see them like looking around, like, not paying attention to what's happening, I'm going, why is this person doing this action when we are right here? We're focused. We are very focused. This person is not focused. Why are they not focused? Are they uninterested with what's happening here? Should they not be interested? And so then I may ask, like, excuse me, I may say to them like, hey, what do you, that one's a tougher one. I don't know
what do you think, but involve them in the conversation.
But I would say, like, what's your input on this?
Right.
And try to bring their attention back, and then say, and I may say like, oh, you seem to have I didn't want to say like your head in the clouds, but like, I think she's probably, or he's going to give you the information that you need by bringing them back into focus. Because if they're not in focus, then it's like, why are you not thinking about this? Is this not serious to you? Is this not going to be the close, right? Like, do they really care? Because I know if myself and my wife are selling our house, we're both going to be like laser focused on the deal, right? Because everybody wants to get the most money that they can. They want to get the best outcome of the deal. And so they should be focused. But I think if someone isn't focused and they're kind of off in la la land, I may just try to draw their attention back or ask them for their input, because I think that they're going to then give you information that maybe they are thinking about but haven't voiced out loud yet, because sometimes they don't feel like they've had the platform or the floor to do that.
I was just going to say,
right?
It's like
an agent will go one-on-one with someone instead of if me and my wife are going to look at a house, if I fit in with you, you're really vibing with me, but you're not vibing with my wife at all, right? And so she may go like, I really haven't had that. And I may go like, oh my gosh, I love this house. This is the greatest thing ever. She may be hating it, but the real estate agent hasn't given her the time of day to talk, really. and get her input. So I think you have to physically watch for some cues to see, like, if I'm checked in with you, I'm good, right?
Yeah.
Check in with the other person now, right? Get their insight, and we talked about that, was like using statements and then repeating the sentence back to them and stuff, what they say back to them, so that you get more out of that story. Like I said to you, like, did you watch that baseball game last night? Or
Yep.
that baseball game was incredible last night. You're going to first, if I just said that baseball game was nuts last night, the first thing I know you're going to go for is, yeah, did you see that fan, react, or the grand slam got hit? And then I know, okay, we're good. I'm good with you now. Now I'm going to go, okay, let's go on to this other person to build that rapport with them as well. Because to be honest, a husband and wife, when they're going to buy a house, they may say, oh, we see eye to eye on these certain things. Like, I wanted an office that was far away from everybody else in the house so that I could be loud. But at the same time, my wife maybe that's not important to her, right? She wants a craft room and stuff, where if the person doesn't know that, like the real estate agent, then they're just treading water with one person. And at the end of the day, I'm going to go back home with my wife and go, what did you think of that house? Well, it didn't really have a craft room. It didn't have this. It didn't have that, And the real estate agent, because he's only spent time talking to the one person really and focusing in on them because they've bonded, they've missed out on all that information to then go, you know what, I have another house that's perfect for you. Let's go check that out.
So important to integrate everybody that's in that room at that moment, because you can unearth a whole bunch of other information. At the same time, too, you can put them at ease. And if you do see them staring up at the ceiling, you might realize they're completely disinterested. You might learn that you are completely spinning your wheels in the mud right now, speaking, let's say, with me, and you got me, but Jen's just completely out to lunch. She doesn't care. She's not interested. She's not happy, but she hasn't been given the floor. So now there's a lot of time and energy wasted on just talking to the one party. So again, action step here would be involve everybody that is there. Now, if it's just one party, it's just one party. At the same time, too, I might even ask, who else is involved in this decision? Is there anybody else that you're going to be speaking to about this to kind of get you to that place? Yeah, I want to consult with my wife, or I want to consult with my parents, or I want to consult with my best friend, or I got to talk to my whatever, right? You start to figure out who these other people might be, if there are anybody else. And now, again, not just playing to the one individual, playing to many of them, right?
We're doing a big renovation here in the next little bit. And the contractor that I'm talking to, I do a lot of work myself, but I asked this guy to come and help with this project. And one of the things he said to me was like, oh, well, I know you, I've known you for a while. We can just hop on a phone call and go over everything that you want to do. And in the end, my wife, I know her, probably would say like, yeah, whatever you think is best, go do it. Cause you know that world a little better. But I said to him, no, I think you should come to the house. Come one night when me and my wife are here, we'll have a drink together. We'll walk through the house. We'll check everything out, because I want to make sure that at the end of the day, when it's done, that she's extremely happy with what got done as well. Right. And so, but a lot of times, like I said, the focus gets put on one person because it's like, oh, it's your job to find the house, or, but it's so much better the more input. And I think even at Mastermind, when we were talking about kitchens and stuff, and I said I wouldn't ask the question that way. I wouldn't even phrase it as a question. I would do it this way, because then I'm going to get more information from that person, whether they're like, oh, we want a big kitchen because we do a lot of family gatherings, or, oh, we actually have 7 kids. They're not here with us right now. Then I'm thinking, oh, okay, 7 kids. Okay, let's maybe not look at this house. There's another house here that would fit you better. So,
and I would take the whole thing and flip it the opposite way as well. I will do that every once in a while. And I mean, you just said it, getting the opinion of your wife is incredibly important. And so I may do what I'm doing the whole way through, but then I definitely want her opinion. So I'll bounce it off of her. But then oftentimes I even bring her with me.
Yeah.
And like right there in front of the person, like, so what do you think? Right. And she either knows, and we've either pre-done this before, where she's going to be I don't know, right? Or she might be like, well, this, that, the other. And now what's happening is the person who's trying to do negotiation, like on the other side, that's trying to get the deal signed. Now you got to play to both of us, and you might get a little bit of a yin and a yang.
Yeah.
So, back to, and they can flip this back around now when we're on the other side of that and looking at these two people, it's important to bring them both in to get a sense of where they're both at. That'll also give you some good insights into where you're about to get to or not. All right. So, with all of this that we're talking about, with active listening, when it comes to negotiation strategies, when it comes to more opportunities, we talk about active listening. We talk about physical body language and really reading some of those telltale signs that say to people, I'm either totally interested or I'm completely disinterested, or maybe I'm completely lying to you.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of that is going to be what in I guess the eyes, in the hand gestures, in maybe the attention we are giving the person or not. Would we boil it down to those?
Yeah, 100%. It's funny because as you're saying that, I'm looking over this way because I can see comments coming in.
Right.
So
Right.
I was like,
Chat.
oh, I see some of the comments coming in. I saw someone say like that they had their client do the same thing with when they were selling their house,
right.
Which is great.
Somebody actually, speaking of the comments, actually one of the ones here is the Stop Doing That Shit book. Is that written by Gary John Bishop?
Yeah, I
Okay,
believe so.
perfect.
Yeah.
So that is the one. All right, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah,
And
no, we got
I've told other people, I'm pretty sure that was the one, but I said to them, like I've told people, you really need to buy this and read it, because I said, like, it makes you look at yourself as well and like write down things, like take a few minutes or like take a few days. Don't come back to read the next chapter until you've done this. Like, why are you saying like I'm the dumb kid growing up for all these years, right? You're not dumb. You just learn differently than everybody else. And I actually said to my grade 8 teacher, I'm still friends with him now, and I sent him a video the other day that said most successful entrepreneurs were C average students in school. And why? Because they were not challenged enough. They didn't care about this is the format that you need to learn and stuff, right? And so that was me, where not that I wasn't challenged enough, but I wasn't challenged in the right directions. It was here, read of Mice and Men, and I could care less.
Right. Yeah,
right? I could care less about that book. So if you have someone with a learning disability and then you give them a book that they don't want to read, well, then it's going to be almost impossible. But if they said to me like, oh, here's a book, on Houdini or David Copperfield or something, I would have ripped through that book and been like, I could tell you every detail of it because it's stuck. But if you give me something to read that I don't care about, then yeah, it's not going to take up my brain space, right? Because my brain just doesn't work the same way. And so I always just tell people, like, it's really important to figure out how you learn and how to motivate people. And Google does a great job at this. Is like, they were like one of the best places to work forever because they made these environments that people could think on their own. And it wasn't like, we're going to put you in a box and here's your cubicle and sit here and think about this way and stuff. It was like, we're going to create game rooms and stuff. And like, if you want, like, go and do that, become creative and stuff. And so, the world, I think, in the school system especially, needs to learn a lot from that, because unfortunately, a lot of kids in my shoes get left way behind and then feel like they can never accomplish anything. And so they don't. Because when a kid feels that way, they grow up feeling that way over and over and over. They just go like, in the end, I'm not going to be successful. And now I'll tell you, I'm more successful than any of my teachers and any of my classmates pretty much ever were, or have been so far. And and a lot of them message me and go like, oh my goodness, like, you're doing so great. I can't believe this. Like,
super awesome.
And I go, yeah, I never thought I'd be here as well. But it was because I kind of just stopped looking at myself as the dumb kid.
So, this brings something up here that just, again, takes us back to this negotiation thing where we've got this, people create this perception of us, or maybe have zero perception of us. And a lot of times, again, our audience is going to be not just talking to clients, but talking to a competitor and trying to negotiate a deal, trying to get something done. And there may be a predetermined notion of who the person is. So I may think I'm about to get on the line with you, and I already kind of dug into you, and I think I know who you are, or maybe vice versa. I got no clue who you are, so maybe I think you're a nobody. Maybe on the opposite side, you know who I am, so you think I'm a somebody, or maybe neither of us know each other. And there's like a million different scenarios you could skin that one with.
Yeah.
Is there something, one particular strategy that when we're about to get on that conversation, because a lot of times in this industry, especially, people will be unfortunately snooty with each other, short with each other, disrespectful with each other. Is there something there that we can use when we get into that, to, I don't know if it's to say to outsmart the competition, but to almost, take control in a positive way? Does that go back to the compliment you said earlier? I mean, what if I
I
don't know
think it's
you
a
and we're
good,
on a phone call?
yeah, I think it's still a good way to start to, even be like if I was on a phone call and talking about the bus signs or whatever, I may go,
Right.
"Oh, David, I just drove by you, man. I see you everywhere. I just saw your face on a sign yesterday or something, right?" And you're gonna go, "Oh yeah, I am all over the place, right? Yeah, I'm
When
killing
I
it."
pump my chest a little bit and like I'm like, yeah, I
100% you're
got
gonna
this now.
Yeah, 100%. But I want you to do that because I
Okay.
want you to feel confident in the conversation with me, and I want you to be like, "Oh man, like this guy is actually seeing my stuff," right? A lot of times, like, well, Leanna will know this, and I talked about it at Mastermind. Like, it's better to call me than
Yeah.
it is to send me an email
Right.
because I don't want to have that impersonal interaction with you, And I've had people email me back, like if I don't hear from them over the phone for a couple of days, like I'll call, leave a message. If I don't hear back from them, then I'll resort to sending an email because to me, it's like the last resort is like, hey, blah 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 blah, right? But um, I think picking up the phone with someone and just like we've had hour-long
I
conversations on
know.
the phone,
Yeah.
right? And it's like it's very easy to do with someone because I'm trying to get as much information as I can from you over the phone, and I can get more information by sending you down those rabbit holes of sports and stuff or whatever we were talking about than I can with an email because an email can be very
100%.
precise. And now you go on Chat GPT and it types your email for you, right? And so you put in what you wanted to say and it's done and it's better than what you could have come up with. I want to hear you on the phone. I want to hear you get excited about something. I want to hear you moan about something, going, "Oh, I hated that," or I love this. Because then if I'm hearing true authenticity over a telephone, then I know what I need to push into, right? And so that to me is the greatest thing. And like I have techniques that I use when I'm talking to people about transparency and stuff over the phone, where then I build rapport before I bring it up, so that way they give me the information that I need, and whether they wanted to or not. But
See, it's so this morning, Leah, my daughter, she's wishing her best friend a happy birthday on Snapchat. And she goes, "Daddy, look at what I put together." And she puts together this little, description. It's got like a slideshow of like pictures of them. And it says happy and then at so and so. And then, she writes the message. I'm like, "Oh, you forgot the word birthday." She goes, "No, Daddy, you don't write birthday." I'm like, "What? Aren't you wishing a happy birthday?" She goes, "Actually, Daddy, it should have been haps." And then with her tag. And I'm like, "You actually don't even write the word anymore? Like, you don't even say it anymore?" She's like, "No." And I looked at Jen. I was like, these kids are lost,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But the power of picking up the phone, actually hearing somebody's voice speaking to people, it will tell you so much, and it'll share the sincerity.
yeah.
It'll open up opportunity. It'll allow you to make the statements and get them to talk. It'll allow you to ask the open-ended questions and get them to talk. It'll create that relationship.
Well, and I said, I told people the first time we chatted, you sent me a message on Instagram. You saw one of my videos, and we're like, "Hey, man, that's really cool." And you said, "Look, I run this thing." The first thing I said to you is, "I would love to hop on a call with you,"
Yep. Yep.
uh, because I didn't want to send messages over Instagram. Yes, we have, of course, continue to do that, but for me, I was like, I want to hear this guy on the phone because I want to hear authenticity in his voice. I want to know that I can trust him. I want to know his experience. And then, and then I'm able to bring things up. And that's probably how we got on the Leafs thing. Was
For
that
sure,
probably
man.
called me and I said, "Hey man, I'm just watching the Leaf game right now. Like, what do you want?"
No, but it's interesting. You
But
see, like, and you had a method to the madness the whole time,
yeah. Oh,
right? But again, and no, look, grateful that you did because it obviously led us to where we've gotten to,
yeah.
right? But it is that, and I think again, this is another emphasis to everybody who's reluctant to pick up the phone or have that conversation. It is super powerful.
I I always say, like, I want my clients, that anybody I deal with, to not be considered a client,
Right.
but a friend,
Yep.
right? And so, I worked in car sales for 6 months while I opened my business. And one of the things every sales guy would tell you is like, they're not buying the car, they're buying you. And at first I was like, well, no, they want a certain price and they like the car. And so they are buying the car. But after a while, you really learn that they kind of are buying you because it's the experience, excuse me, that you give them, right? And so if they don't trust you right away, then they're probably not going to deal with you, right? If you look shady, they're not going to deal with you, right? And so for me, it was always about communicating with people and getting answers to things without bothering them with asking the questions. So if I'm talking to you, I don't want to say to you, like, how many bedrooms are you looking for? Do you need a garage? Does it need to be attached? Does it need to do this? Does it need to do that? I would rather learn, oh, you like doing, work on your car on the side. Oh, you have a classic car. Okay, so a garage is definitely an important thing to you, right? Oh, you have 3 kids. Okay, so you need at least a 4 or 5 bedroom house, right? Oh, you have dogs? Oh, perfect. Okay, well, let's look at this. You need something with a big backyard, probably some green space and stuff. I want to learn that information without asking you those questions. And I
Yeah.
think if you can do that, then you're way, way, way ahead of everybody else. And let's be honest, in business, you just have to be 10% better than the next guy to get all the deals, right? And so if I can be 10% better, I know with me not asking you questions and being a pushy salesperson, I'm going to be 100 times better salesperson than the next guy, because the next guy is going to go, here's my CRM. Here's all the questions I need to fill out. Or you're my lead on my website. I need to get all these details from you. I've had conversations with people that have gone way crazy about like childbirth and everything else and, crazy stuff, to come back to like booking me for a show or booking me for a speaker. And here we are
But
talking,
it's rapport.
but it's rapport. And we are laughing and crying. And now I know when I reach back out to them, I can go like, oh man, I gave so much more thought to that. Or, oh man, you had me laughing for 3 days about that. And again, it's just rapport building. And
Yeah.
by doing that, you're building trust. And what I talked about at the conference as well was like, by active listening, you understand. And I think with real estate, gifting is one of the biggest things that you can do, right? And if you can show that person that you really know who they are by the gift that you gave them, instead of your crappy, like, here's my gift I give every single person, it's just night and day the difference that's going to make for referrals and stuff. So
It's the importance of connecting with people.
100%.
So, question for you. You
Yeah.
you do some awesome stuff. You are at all sorts of amazing events. You wow the shit out of like everybody that's seen your stuff. It's amazing stuff. And it's obviously got to be an incredible feeling. Um, as you come home at the end of a day from whatever you've done in a day, how do you know that it's been a successful day for you?
It's interesting because this is where the conversation led to yesterday, with my wife. And I said, I was working today and sending a bunch of emails and texts and stuff back and forth with people. But I said to her, I said, twice, I said, I didn't go down to my office at all, though. I didn't lock myself in the office all day. And we went out in the daytime, and then we went out at night and stuff, and went shopping and did some stuff. And I said, to me, that's success, that I'm not like pinned down going like, I don't have time for anything else. For me, I love to be out and about. And I say to my wife all the time, like, oh, you have tomorrow off. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? It's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to be able to provide for others, my wife and son, and be able to go like, yeah, you want to go to the falls? Yeah, let's go to the falls. You want to go to Vegas? Yeah, let's go to Vegas. I want to know that to me is success, but also that I've built relationships. You said most of your business comes off referrals. So does mine.
Yeah.
A ton of mine comes off referrals because someone will go, oh man, this person saw your show, or you spoke at this event. We want you at this event. And how do I do that is by building that rapport with that person so that the next time they run into someone, they have to tell them about me. And for instance, I was at a golf tournament in August up in Sutton, and there was a guy from Ottawa there who had me come and do a show and then speak the next day at their national conference. Now it's been probably almost 2 years. And I didn't know one of the guys that golf with him, but I met him afterwards because I wasn't with that foursome. And he said, Guy didn't stop talking about you all day. He was telling everyone about you. Guy doesn't run the tournament. Guy is just a guy there to golf and have some fun. But he saw me in the morning. He said, oh, hey, Guy, how's it going and stuff. He then went out golfing. This guy came to me after and was like, hey, I want to hire you to mentor me and stuff. I want to talk to you more about this stuff. And I said, so we've met up for dinner and chatted a few times and stuff. And I said, this is amazing. Guy made this sale for me. I didn't have to do anything, right? I want to know that that's how the community that I've created around me is interacting with me and with people that they know, because I want them, the first thing they do is if there's an opportunity where they can see me being part of it, that they bring me up right away. And so I think that's just connecting. Like, here's an example. When you sell a house, the transaction's done, and you never talk to that person ever again until they want to buy a house again. So many real estate agents go like, oh, well, I'll just have my assistant send out a form that says, here, fill out this Q&A. What do you rate 1 to 5? What do you rate? That is so garbage to me. It's so gross. I don't want to fill that out. I don't want to take the time to fill that out, because it means that you don't really give a shit about actually having a conversation with me about how my house is. Why have you not called me? Why have you not come over with a bottle of wine? If you've sold me a house, and we've gone through the process together, hopefully we're pretty connected by the end of this. I'm putting a lot of trust and a lot of money in your hands to make a huge deal, right? So at the end of the day, why are you not coming over like a few weeks later or a month later going, hey, here's a bottle of wine. I was in your area. Just wanted to check in, see how things are going. I know you were doing some renos when you got in. Just wanted, are they done? Can I check them out? Oh my gosh, this is amazing. You guys are, making this look like this is your house, right? And it doesn't happen. Every real estate agent that I know that I've worked with, the follow-up is always terrible, because it's always like, okay, let's get this CRM program to do the follow-up. Let's get my assistant to do the follow-up. I'm too busy. You're not too busy to pick up the phone for 5 minutes and go like, hey, just wanted to check in. And I know that because there's real estate agents that I would consider very busy people at the MindShare that said, I don't know what to do with my free time, right? And it's like, just do follow-ups. Take that time. Build rapport with that person, because you don't know when that person is going to have a conversation with another person. And that other person may go, yeah, I'm going to start looking for a house. If I haven't talked to the real estate agent in 2 years or 3 years and they haven't followed up with me at all, just to see, hey, just want to check in. How's things going in your community? How's the street? Am I going to think of them right away and go, I need to tell them about my real estate agent because he's the best or she's the best? Probably not.
No, good words, man. It's funny. I was going to ask about that repeat referral stuff, but hey, I mentioned this before, and I'm gonna be more forward with it. Tomorrow's your birthday.
Tomorrow is my birthday.
Now I know you know that.
I do know that.
I wanted to remind you.
I can see tomorrow is a
yeah. See, I'm working. I'm practicing right here. I can see these things. But October 31st, man, go figure.
Yeah.
There's something just interesting about the fact that your birthday happens to be October 31. With what you do for I don't know.
It's also the day Houdini died, which is a cool thing.
Or was he reborn? Oh,
Maybe. I don't
hey,
know.
what are you doing to celebrate tomorrow?
Actually, one of my buddies is going to come over, my son is 2 now. And so we can finally kind of get him in a costume, and he knows the neighbors and stuff. So we're just going to bring the boys door knocking to get some candy for dad. But that's probably about it. Nothing too crazy. I'm doing breakfast television tomorrow morning. And then
That's where I was going to go with it too. You're on breakfast television tomorrow, eh?
yeah, I think it's 9:35 tomorrow
Live
morning.
in studio.
Live in studio. Yeah.
Cool, man.
And then you see, look, here's an example. I took an opportunity. I'm going to be in Toronto tomorrow. And so I have a client that's in Mississauga on my way back home. And I said to them, I called them and I said, or I text them, sorry, I text them and said, I haven't connected with you since our event, and it was a very successful event. Do you mind if I stop by on my way back? Just to see you guys and stuff. And yeah, they were like, yeah, 100% come by. That's building rapport. I don't have to. It's my birthday. It's Halloween. I could go, screw this. I'm going home. I just want to get done the show and be gone. But I know that that's going to be an opportunity for me to build more rapport. And so the next time they have an event, who are they going to think of?
You know what, man? I'm going to tell you something. I had a meeting yesterday that I went to with some people. It was fantastic. And after that, I was invited to go to an open house for something. Not an open house real estate, but an open house for something else. And I kind of hemmed and hawed about going based on the fact that, traffic, no joke, right? Traffic. I had to go south. Like, this wasn't even like I'm going to go back north. Like, I had to go south and then know that I was going to battle traffic back. And so I was hemming and hawing about the whole thing. But as we know that it's a people business, I did it. I went there. And I ended up bumping into so many different people I knew, people that knew me that I didn't know. And I bumped into one individual who I had never known. She knew me. And we sat and talked for about 40 minutes. We've got a follow-up meeting coming. There's a big opportunity coming out of that. Would have never happened if we didn't take a moment to go again and connect and be people.
Nice.
So my man, I've got for everybody that's on the live right now, I've got Ryan's handle for his Instagram up on the screen here, mentalism.ca. If you're listening on any one of your favorite podcast platforms, make sure you check him out, mentalism.ca on Instagram. I mean, again, we connected because I was just scrolling, doing the aimless scroll, and just saw some stuff that blew my mind. And no joke, everything that we've talked about today, very much around rapport building and relationships, has been, couldn't be more true in terms of how we connected and just the way the friendship, the relationship is built out. And it's got nothing to do with, monetizing or anything else. This is truly about, two people that have something in common, connecting with one another. And again, as you tuned into today's episode, as we talked about how to outsmart your competition and negotiation tactics you've never heard of, take a lot of what was shared today and really internalize. There's a lot of meat and potatoes that were shared. As you start to break it down and maybe re-listen, start to write down the tactical stuff and try to really leverage this stuff the next time that you are in front of people. So I really encourage you guys, everybody, check him out. Make sure you really find out more about Ryan. Ryan, you're doing some fantastic stuff, man. Any final words of wisdom you want to share with anybody just before we tune out today?
That's a great question. I had to think about it. Well, last word of advice. This goes back to treat people how you want to be treated, right? Give people the time of day if you want the time of day. If you're a real estate agent, treat people how you want to be treated. You would want the red carpet out if you were going to look at a house, right? You'd want them to understand what you want, what your needs are and stuff, and really work on finding that. A lot of times when you work with an agent, it's the person. I haven't found too many times where the agent goes, "Hey, I found a perfect house for you. Here's a few." A lot of times it's, "Oh, hey, I'm sending the agent the houses I want to go and look at," which makes sense. But that kind of just means that the agent doesn't really know me that well either, because then they're not taking that upon themselves to go, "Hey, I just found this," or "This is off listing right now, but I think this might work for you." And it's okay to get it wrong, because if the house is out of their price range and stuff, it's okay to go and look at houses like that to build the rapport, but also to get more information to learn about what they're really looking for. So always, always, always just listen to people. That's what people want the most in life, is to be heard. So give them the opportunity to be heard.
Some great final words, and I have to ask just before we take off, because again, our VIP room, we got a question here. Any book recommendations just before we sign off that you might want to share? Just something off the top of your mind. I know we talked about the one off the top of the conversation today.
I'm a huge audiobook guy.
Yeah.
So let me pull up my phone here. I can give you a few.
They're looking like body language or just general stuff maybe that you say, hey, pick up this one too.
Yeah, there was a new one that I was just actually not a newer one, but let me.
I'm going to throw in there as you're doing that, because that was the one that I just literally finished, was Read People Like a Book.
Yeah.
By Patrick King.
100%. So it's funny because now with what I do, I don't really study it anymore at all, almost. And so people are always, because I do it every day, right? And so that to me is the practice that I need to pick up on things or to learn.
Makes sense though. Yeah.
Or to change the way I'm saying things is really that. So a lot of times I read books on business. And I've probably got, there's like 40 audiobooks here, or 50,
for sure.
49 audiobooks.
You got one that stands out to you as you go through that?
One that does. I'll give you two. The Third Door, because it's a fantastic listen as well. It's a story about it's something that I really take to heart as well, is like there's always a third door. Like there's the yes and no, and then there's always a way in. Right, whether the door is locked or not. And so this is a story.
By Alex Banayan. I read that one.
Fantastic. It's just a great listen as well.
I listened to that one.
And then the other one I think I've mentioned to you, and I know you've read it, is Blue Fishing.
Oh yeah, by our buddy Steve Sims.
Blue Fishing is so great because it really shows you, like, if you go the extra 10% and don't if someone said to you, like, if you notice that the kid loves swimming, like the people's kid loves swimming, but they are looking for a house without a pool or something because they can't afford it. And then you found a place with a pool because you realized that their kid loves swimming and stuff. The people are going to, and you mention it like, oh, you know what? I noticed last time you were taking your kid to swim lessons after. That's why we couldn't meet. So I actually found a place with a swimming pool because I thought that would be so awesome for you guys, That just shows the client, again, that you're listening to them, but it's going that extra little bit, right? And going like, I think I could get them to come down in price a little bit. So
that's cool. Steve's actually a buddy of mine. He's been on the show before. Yeah, he's a good dude.
I would love to meet Steve because
he's cool, man.
He's pushed me in what I do just to be better than everybody else, just by a little bit. That's all it takes, just a little bit.
You know what? Well, we're going to make that connection. We're going to do that.
I'd love it.
Right. Thank you, bro. Thank you as always for all of your time, all of your insights. I can't thank you enough for making the time today and just sharing everything on the show. And a huge happy birthday to you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy, man.
I'm getting old.
Yeah. Hey, we're getting a year younger every time.
Yeah,
you're young.
Exactly.
You're younger. Once again, a big thank you, bro.
No worries. Anytime.
You are either listening to this on one of your favorite podcast platforms, or maybe you went to my website, MindShare101.com. While you are there, be sure to learn more about our one-to-one coaching, group training, keynote speaking, and of course, download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle so you can build more mindshare to get more market share. Of course, for all inquiries, just get in touch with us today. Don't forget to leave a review of this podcast at www.ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. Go to Spotify, go to iTunes directly if you'd like. I'd really like if you go over there and just a nice little review. Dave's the best. His guests are amazing. Big 5-star for the show. You're so great. I mean, you're so kind. Thank you. But seriously speaking, take a moment, ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. Super grateful. If we haven't yet, let's connect on Instagram at David Greenspan 101 and on both Facebook and TikTok at MindShare 101. I want to thank Kids Keep in Touch Systems and REM Real Estate Magazine for sponsoring this episode of the MindShare podcast. This has been another episode of the MindShare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.